roasted vegetables, and we're gonna bake these. And so what I've done is I've kind of just chopped the amount of vegetables. That this is maybe even a little too much. I'd really like to see it maybe about like a little bit less. And when I actually bake this, they won't be all crowded together. You can do it, it just takes longer, right? So if they can breathe a little bit, they're gonna cook a lot faster. But one of the things when we're talking about vegetables, baking is a great way to do it because it maintains most of the nutritional value when you do baking rather than say frying or boiling or something like that as it bleaches out those things. But we're gonna do this because we want to coat the seasonings on it. And we use the Alvy's Incredible. So how many people are not familiar, have never used the seasonings? Okay, awesome, so we have a couple. We have the line of seasoning blends that, this one's the Alvy's Incredible. It's like our #1 all-purpose seasoning. And you can use any of them on like any food, cook any way, and you'll learn more about that as you'll get to taste other ones if you want to. So I'm gonna put a little bit in here, but what I'm gonna do is put some oil on it. And just for ease sake, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dump some of these out just because it's gonna make it a lot simpler to coat those and show you and then pour it right on I think I got a pretty good mix there. But what I'm gonna do is put a little bit of oil. So what's the first thing to think about when I'm like, okay, I'm putting oil on my veggies here before I'm, when in my healthy eating mode here, this right here is not exactly like, this kind of goes against our better judgment, right? But I'm gonna tell you why this is the successful way, because the habit we want to develop here is the end goal, and the end goal is not to change the diet. The end goal is to feel better, to do something that helps you, whatever it is. You wanna lose weight, you wanna hit your optimal performance or whatever. We all know that to the extent that our bodies have what they need, then they're gonna perform for us better. And with the case of a little bit of oil or whatever it is in this case, the habit you want to do is not tell yourself what you want to avoid. Don't focus on what you want to avoid. Focus on what your body needs, right? So if I'm always thinking about, I got to avoid the oil, I got to avoid the sugar, what you're going to do is you're going to go right into healthy, super healthy mode. I'm going to bake these with no oil, right? I'll still do some flavors. But then you eat it and you're like, this is boring, this is really not what I'm used to, and it's such a shock that you're like, it's February. So, but what happens though?
A little bit of oil is not gonna hurt anybody.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If you're not really giving your body what it needs, you're making a step in the right direction. That is the key basically to all the success we want, is to take the right steps in the right directions. And so I'm just gonna toss that, right? Just toss it with the Alvy's Incredible. And the recipe then has about what you're looking for on those. And so we're gonna just put that, and we've got some Alvy's Incredible, and when these are done, you can flavor these with any of the flavors, Mexican, Italian, some lemon pepper, whatever you want. But the whole idea, and it's not just with this, it's with like anything when you're talking about healthy, and we're gonna talk when we come to the dessert here. Give your body what it needs, even if you have to tell it it's cake, right? I'm giving you what you need, but it's in a way that'll be like. Now, as you improve that habit, you're making a little step in the right direction each day. What happens is then you actually do start to feel better. You actually do start to gain a little strength, a little momentum, and then you really can say, okay, let's take out the oil and see what that does. Then you have the momentum, the habit of giving your body what it wants. And then you can start taking away some of the other stuff that are the harder things to give up. The stuff like me with sweets, like every single time I've ever tried, just like, oh, no sugar. Like, I made it like half the day, And that's really fresh. Clock timer. For about 20 minutes, and we'll just see.
20 minutes at what temp?
400 degrees. All right. Actually, we're going to do our soup. Not even the old-fashioned way. I mean, we're not even going to use broth. We're going to use water, vegetables, and our seasonings. And I'll show you just how great a simple soup can be, but like super good flavor. And in this case, we're going to do carrots. We'll do some celery, and we'll do some onion. And I'll show you a few different cutting techniques. Anybody like consider themselves like really? Is to have your fingers like that, right? When you're cutting like that. You'll see me a lot of times just holding it like that and just chopping super fast. And just don't do that, right? If you see me. And I try not to do it when I'm doing a demo, right? Because so cut the vegetables a little bit differently based on what you're doing. With the roasted vegetables, you can do them a little bit bigger because they're going to bake and whatnot. With the soup, we'll do them a little bit smaller, and you'll see with with the dip, we're gonna cut, make sure the broccoli are in nice edible pieces in size. So for the soup, you do want them pretty small, and so we're just gonna chop them just regular, straight. For the stir fry, you're gonna see that we actually change it and cut them a little bit julienne like that, a little sideways, so they end up having a little bit more of a different shape. So it gives you a little for the stir fry. So there we go, we got the little one. Potatoes are a great addition because we're talking about what's appropriate for a soup size here, and so maybe like that-ish. That. And again, there's no way that's like right all the time or wrong all the time. It's like what you're looking for out of your. I love making a clam chowder. Anybody like clam chowder? I'm a huge fan.
I'm from Boston.
There we go, Boston clam chowder. And potatoes, I have a great chowder recipe as well it uses. And interestingly enough, I've tried all kinds of different soups. Split pea, vegetable, chowders, all kinds of different ones. The combination of seasonings that works best in almost every single soup is half Albi's Incredible and half Italian. And that's what we're gonna do tonight. So you get to taste it will really just, bring out the natural flavor that Albi's Incredible in whatever you put it on. It's really versatile. That's where I got a little bit that chicken over on the bone. So I got so there's rice. I'm going to show you really quick. So again, this is just a really taboo for me to do this and just sit there and leave it and losing all the steam. But again, so you can see, not quite ready, but you can see it's looking pretty good. But if you're here and you'll notice, it's just really moist still. So I'll leave that covered for it's probably got another 5 minutes. And you want to take it off the heat, not when it's overdone at all, because it'll continue to cook as it sits there longer. And then when you use it again and over, each time you heat it, it'll continue to cook more. So al dente or slightly is great for rice when you take it off the heat. Okay, so they're really cooking that food. And that's because they cook the vegetables on really high heat, because that's the best way to really produce that nice snap, but not mushy. Firm but not too firm, sort of vegetable. And I'm going to show you another couple techniques and tricks to really get that restaurant quality stir fry at the very end. Some things that you're going to do that really give it that edge, right? Okay.
Does it matter how much oil you put in?
It's going to be a couple tablespoons probably, and then if you need to add a little more, you'll notice, oh, this is sticking or it's too dry. You can add a little bit more, but you don't need too much. You don't need a lot. So I'll just put a little in. It's not hot enough. You can just throw a little in there. It starts to sizzle great. And it starts to smoke. Is a little bit hot. Now, oil has an interesting sheen to it when it gets hot and ready to go, and it looks a little bit like it's almost like you see that, the best way to describe it is the vapor from a jet engine, as you can see it in the sky, that little
heat off the road.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It sort of has that look like that, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump those in. And I'm going to keep the heat really high up right now, even super high, because just putting those vegetables will take that temperature down, that core temperature down. And think about that anytime you're cooking, and say you're throwing some frozen something in there, especially when you're frying stuff. Be aware of how much that's going to reduce that temperature. Throw something frozen in some oil. Crank up the heat right before you throw it in there, so when you throw it in there, it doesn't all of a sudden it's not bubbling anymore and it's just sucking up oil, and it doesn't end up very good. If you guys want to take a look at this at any time, just pop over here and take a look. You will notice that it's getting a little bit of a coating on the bottom of vegetable stuff, and that's exactly what you want. You really want that, because that gives you the real flavor, and that gives you the edge again at the end. And so, like I said, it was quite a bit of vegetables there. Didn't want to. Let's see. That'll probably work. And as this cooks, one of the issues with stir fry is you really do want that balance of not overdone and mushy. You really want that, you get to the Chinese restaurant where it's pops and it has fresh flavor, and not overcooked. And that's what I'll show you how to do at the end. And it's right at the end where you have that, you're able to do that. But as this is cooking, adjust the heat down just in stages as it goes along. Got the dip made, and this is, we have a universal recipe card for the seasoning that has most of these recipes on there. And this is a dip that's been made with our Alvy's Incredible seasoning, and it's you use it for veggies. And I'm going to show you actually some different things you can do with this. What we really want to do with this is have them your standard bite size, sort of, not too thick, because you want it to be not just all carrot. Because again, we're getting into the habit of putting things into our body that, let's just face it, sometimes come as a shock because it's been so long since we had things like raw carrots or raw broccoli or things like that. And so you put it in this really nice dip, and we're going to be tasting all these things here. All right. Now, don't worry if you're in a hurry to get this done, and it's like, oh, it's not cooking that fast. I'm going to show you how we're going to cook this really fast at the end, and so it's like going to get done really, really quickly all at once here. So we'll do a little celery and a little carrot, a little broccoli, and then we can taste this here, and then we'll do some of the stir fry and some of the soup that you can taste. So with the celery, I mean, there's a few ways you can do it. You can chop it like that, and then you can chop it into little pieces a little bit smaller. Or you just cut straight on down the rib, the entire direction, and then cut them a little bit like that. A little creative, you can do it a couple times if you want to.
Which seasoning flavors do you like best in the dip?
There, you know what? It depends. The Alvy's Incredible is like the go-to. It's really good in the dip. Everybody likes it, basically. And if you want to try some of those, go ahead and try it in the dip. And
So that's just sour cream and mayo?
sour cream and mayo. The Italian is another one of my personal favorites of this. It's like a really good vegetable dip. The real dill, we have a dill one, and that's our number 2 overall seller.
The dip also makes a really good sandwich spread for like sandwiches.
And see on the veggies, like some of them look a little bit dry. Some of them look like they're starting to get a nice color as if they're getting cooked through. You want to get it cooked at least to where none of them look dry anymore. They don't have to be really cooked through all the way. But if they're not dry, then we can do some things. That's what I'm going to do right now. It's almost at that level. I'm going to crank the heat way up and turn that really hot. I'm going to show you what to do to get that. This is about ready now. The rule of thumb, and we have like an exact recipe on the card, but the rule of thumb is get it to about like an inch above the top of the vegetables. And so we'll just see how it goes. And just remember, I'm not using any stock here, but most of all, like, it gives it that fullness of flavor that we really like in soup. And just the demo here is to show you all the flavor you're getting is going to be from the seasoning. So let's see where that takes us right there. I'll put some of the Italian seasoning in here and the Alvy's Incredible. I'm going to start with, did you guys notice exactly how much I measured into there, right? Yeah. No, I didn't. I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of each and just mix that in. I'll give it a little test taste and we'll see how that looks for us. And I'll see if I add a little bit more, and then we're going to shut that lid and we're going to pressure cook it for 5 minutes. And then we'll take it out. We're going to have us some soup. Okay, so it's going to need a little bit more. I'm going to go another like half of this, maybe not quite half of that. Another like same amount,
And
equal portions.
just
equal.
with water, no stock, right?
Water, no stock at all. And water and vegetables and our seasoning. And I'll just give you a quick little look, guys. Just a little look-see at that soup right now, just before throwing in, okay? Just looks like a really good
You're
soup.
basically making a vegetable stock, right?
Yep, yep. So get it going, make sure the little vent is closed. In this case, we're gonna hit cancel. We're gonna hit the soup, not 70 minutes. Why is it set to 70 minutes?
Because
Oh.
you're not on manual, do you just, I just usually do manual for 5 minutes.
You can do manual, yeah. And I think of the last thing I did, you also do 5, and you just leave it, right? There's no like start, and that's the one thing I'm like waiting to like hit start, and there's no start, so it just does. Okay, on this right here, on the bottom there, you can see that. Okay, and what I'm gonna do at this point,
So technically, it's kind of the same gravity we got in the Instapot, kind of.
yeah. So the Chinese seasoning, okay, a little Chinese, incredible Chinese, Ali's, no, save the day, Chinese seasoning. Stir that a little bit. All right, this is the key. This is the key to do it. It's sort of like an Insta steam for the vegetables. So as long as that's really hot, turn on water. Have it hot. Don't have it cold water. Not too much. You never know what that could do to your pan. So have it hot water. Always safe.
I would crack my
And then a little bit like that, right? Put it on the other side, okay? Right back on the heat. Okay. Now you can also really need to put a cover on that and lid it, and they'll continue like steam that and make it really. We don't even have to do that this time, but you can if you need to get them cooked fast. That's what you can do. And now what I'll do is cook this for like a couple seconds here, not too long. There's our timer. Got a light. And we got the roasted veggies there, and you can test them with a fork and kind of see how they are. And not all vegetables cook at the same pace, and you just want to bear that in mind. And those aren't done yet, so we'll cook them further. Let's check them in another 5 minutes. Let's see, I turned that off by mistake. Is that rice there? No.
What's your ratio of water to rice?
2 to 1, like exact 2 to 1. Don't worry about opening it up. Don't worry about stirring it. Just make sure you don't overcook it, and don't let the water boil over, because that will throw the ratios off if the water comes out during the boiling process. So, it's really good. And we have a couple options with the stir fry, depending on what direction you want to go, because you can make this into a really good soft up stir fry, or you can do it just a nice flavor stir fry. But if you're going to put it over some rice, you might want to sauce it up a little bit, you know? So that's what we're going to do. We'll sauce it up a little bit. But again, the only flavors we're going to use is soy sauce and our Chinese seasoning. And we'll still get a sauce. So I'm going to put some soy sauce in there. It's actually a low sodium soy sauce. I got that by mistake, but we're going to try and find out. Low sodium soy sauce is really good.
It's still low sodium. Soy sauce.
Okay, so I put some, and again, we have a recipe for this in our actual stir fry recipe. Yeah. All right, so now there's some soy sauce, but like it's not sitting in a bunch of sauce right now. We want to do that. So we're going to do, now the actual Chinese seasoning does have a little thickening agent in it. It's got arrowroot powder, but just by itself, that's not really real sauce. That's what we're looking for here. But we have that, a little cornstarch. We'll do 1 tablespoon of cornstarch along with some water in there, and we'll do a nice little sauce. Half a tablespoon. That's half a tablespoon. That's 1 tablespoon. And we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of cold water or whatever's best. Okay. This is, if you ever have lumps in gravy, and this is where the error happens right here. And gotta make sure the cornstarch lumps are out of there. Okay, so what we're gonna do is add water. Now I haven't even tasted this. I really don't even know what it tastes like, but I don't have to quite yet. Again, I'm gonna add probably half a cup of water or so, thereabouts. You can add a little bit more. Actually, I think we probably could even handle a little bit more. We're gonna move it all to one side. Just pour that right in there with the water. So blend the water before it starts blending with the vegetables. Okay.
What temper heat you have?
It's hot. It's on pretty high heat. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, as I stir this, it's actually going to thicken up, and I'm going to add a little bit more water to it, actually. Okay? And you remember that, guys, on these sauces and the soups and everything like that, we're not using any stock, we're not using any other flavors or anything like that. We just want to demo what we have here to show. So, okay, now as I cook that, that should thicken up a little bit, and that's ready to go. And our veggies are in here and very close. And we've got the soup going right there. We've got our dip right there. And now one thing is really, really easy is with this dip, I just want to show you, I think I have, I'll use this. I'm just gonna take a little, let's just say the party's over and we've got this much dip left over, you know, and what am I gonna do?
Never happens.
All that. If you want to, a little, as much as you want. Really.
So you put some dip in the bowl.
Yes, dip. Now you can do. Now there's a lot of variations you can do this to make it more. And this is sour cream and mayonnaise. You can do low-fat stuff. You can do, you know, other almond
Greek
milk.
yogurt.
And that. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of milk to this.
Vegan mayo.
Yeah.
All kinds of things you can do. Okay.
Or buttermilk added to that if you like that.
Milk or buttermilk here, and this is on the universal recipe card on how to make a salad dressing. This is like a ranch dressing. Sour cream, mayonnaise, little milk, and olives and pepper. Let's taste it. I want to see it and make sure it's good. Okay, so what we have is this is done.
You put the Chinese in there yet?
I put some Chinese. What I want to do is I want to taste this.
How do you know it's done? What are the signs?
Well, broccoli will start to discolor when it gets overdone. It'll get less vibrant green. We're about at that point right now where we don't really want it to cook much more. I'm gonna add a little bit more Chinese. And one little trick on this is sometimes with soy sauce, when you're using soy sauce, one thing to improve the flavor is to add just a little tiny bit of sugar if you want to. Just a little edge, take the edge off that bitterness of the soy sauce. We're not even gonna do that. So just want to have you try this just like this and see what we have. And so this is ready to go. And we've got some plates here. So the ideal time to put those in is right at the end, about 30 seconds before they're done cooking. And it heats those cashews through and gives them a little bit more part of the meal texture. Throw some on top though, it really, really does help. Yeah, so the roasted veggies are out now, guys, and these you can use any of those seasons. They have a little bit of the Incredibles, so not really highly seasoned, but so you can try any of the others you want. I'm gonna put these on in the little serving bed. And guys, I'm serious. Try the Brussels sprouts. Yeah, half a container of cream cheese, and that's room temperature. It's been sitting out for a couple hours, and that's important to have at room temperature. But you can microwave on defrost if you need to.
But not in the foil bag.
No, not
Just in case you were.
Half and half cream cheese and sour cream, right? And because that's room temperature, it's going to be easier. Note I didn't say easy. It's easier to get smooth. Once it breaks up a little bit and mingles with the sour cream, it's going to be way easier. But until then,
You get your frustrations out.
you have to just beat it up a little bit. There's better ways to do this than starting off with a wire whip. You can start off with a fork. That helps a lot, which probably I should shift to the fork and cut my losses with that.
KitchenAid's really great too.
KitchenAid, fantastic. Yeah, KitchenAid's great. But certainly the fork will help with the tough job at the beginning. And then the closer that is to room temperature, the smoother that it will be when it's completed. It's like cottage cheese actually right now.
Which, by the way, any seasoning on the cottage cheese is awesome too.
Oh.
Yeah, a
It
lot of
just
people like
added-
savory
yeah.
with their cottage cheese.
They are
actually.
really good.
So, okay, you can see there, it's turning out pretty nice, pretty decent now. I'm gonna add a little bit of now we have a recipe for this, but, you know, it's somewhere. So, okay, fresh one. Come on, get in there, put some.
So you're putting which flavor?
This is the lemon. And because it's gonna be a dip, I wanna make sure it's the right consistency. So I'm gonna add just a little tiny bit of milk to make sure that it's just right. And then you're like breaking your little pieces of fruit and trying to get that. But start low and then add a little bit at a time until it's the right texture. And same thing with the sweetening. Again, you got a recipe, but if you want to just whip it up, you can add a little bit more at a time until it's just right.
Will you say all that? Yeah, she wants to vent the soup.
Oh, wait, don't vent it. I'm going to show you a little trick, just in case. You can use a spoon, you can use different things. I always like to use a little towel and just like slap it like that.
That's your trick?
I don't have the thing. But just like slap it like that with the towel over the thing. Like that. And that way, if you want to do it, a little spoon or a little something, just don't do it with your bare hand either way. Okay, so I want to try this really quick. This is called lemon.
Would you name all of the flavors for
Yeah.
the sweeties real quick?
A little more. So we have the lemon sweetening, we have the peanut butter, the chocolate, the salted caramel, and the brown sugar cinnamon are probably our most popular ones.
And strawberry.
And we have strawberry, and we have strawberry, peanut butter, yeah, pumpkin spice as well. A little bit more powdered sugar if you want it more sweet. But give you just a hint, lemon flavor. You can dip the apple, the banana, the orange in there, or your finger, if you're by yourself.
Not in a